Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Reducing Risks by Outsourcing Your OSD Manufacturing and Packaging. I'm Heather Masaccio, your host from Pharmaceutical Online. With me today, I have Chris Vunassis, Head of Commercial at Ropack Pharma Solutions. In this webinar, he'll be providing valuable insights for those considering or currently engaging in outsourcing, helping you to make informed decisions that align with your operational and strategic goals. After his presentation, we'll be holding a Q&A session. Feel free to submit questions as we go along. We'll get to as many as possible during the Q&A, and any that we can't get to, we will follow up with after the event. If you run into any issues, please try refreshing your browser first. And if you need additional support, go ahead and submit a question via the Q&A, and I'll get you back on track. Finally, the webinar will be available for on-demand viewing. You'll receive a link via email as soon as it's available. With all that said, I'm going to turn it over to Chris to get us started.
Thank you very much, Heather. Really a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon, evening, or morning, everyone, depending on where you may be in the world. Thank you very much for attending our webinar. Before we get started with the goal of the presentation, just a few words on Ropack and myself before we dive in. Ropack is a privately held CMO. We've been operating for almost 50 years. Our 50-year anniversary is actually in 2026. We are a privately held company, which allows us to offer the flexibility our partners are looking for. So we're very entrepreneurial, and I'm excited to share some of our experiences on today's webinar. As you probably read in the synopsis, we'll be sharing some anonymized real-world examples of how we have helped everyone from startup organizations to top 20 pharmaceutical companies and everyone in between, frankly, successfully integrate their products to market. We've built a pretty strong reputation, I would say, providing our partners with reliability they can trust, the flexibility they need, and the quality that they can count on. On a personal level, I have been in the pharma industry for over 20 years. I think I'm going to stop at 20, regardless of the true number. I've worked for branded, generic, startup companies, and I've also had the privilege to work on the supply side of the pharma industry with previously a contract sales and marketing organization, and today in my current role in a contract manufacturing organization with Ropack. I've been with Ropack for over six years now. I say the privilege of working on the supply side because working with numerous top organizations, whether they be startup or top 20 pharma companies, is really a privilege in the sense that we get to peek in on each organization's unique corporate culture. And this experience, I find, has allowed me and allows Ropack to really be more flexible in how we look at some of the issues our customers are having, and puts us in a position to offer creative solutions. So it's really this knowledge, this expertise, quality, flexibility, reliability, and above all, passion that we bring to all our partnerships that I'm here to share with you today, hopefully. Our three main learning objectives for today, and again, these are through 6 anonymized real-life examples, are 1, exploring the cost efficiency and expertise gained through outsourcing your oral solid dose manufacturing and packaging. 2, learning how outsourcing mitigates risks in regulatory compliance and supply chain management. And 3, understanding best practices for managing flexible and agile partnerships with external providers. So without further ado, I think we should jump right into our first real world example. We've labeled this one innovation through technology. As a CMO, we have invested in state-of-the-art equipment, and we've innovated quite a bit as we've evolved over the past 50 years. It was during a product launch, actually. And again, when we talk about best practices, I would say one of the best practices that we adhere to at Ropack is always having an internal kickoff meeting when we're launching a project with a customer, so we can align internally, and an external kickoff meeting. So it was during this external kickoff meeting we had a simple project actually of placing, it was a packaging project, placing tablets in a bottle. But we got the sense in the kickoff meeting with our partner that they were really looking for a way to differentiate themselves from the rest of their competitors through their packaging. And it was our project manager actually who picked up on that and decided to ask the question of, were they looking for something other than tablets in a bottle? And the question was yes. The answer was yes, excuse me. And so all of our project managers at Ropack, in fact, our entire staff is cross-trained through all of our technologies. So although we have subject matter experts in each of our technologies, we also are cross-functional and understand all of the other technologies. So this particular project manager made a suggestion and asked if powder in a stick pack would be something that this customer might be interested in. Well, fast forward, it didn't take very long for the customer to be very interested and want to learn more. And the process was very simple. We got our technical teams together. We talked a lot of tech speak. We provided the expertise, the collaboration, and the learning to really understand how we can blend a powder for this particular customer and package it in stick packs. We exposed them to our technology and innovations that we had come up with in regards to our stick packaging line. So they had full access to cutting edge equipment. Again, I'd like to say here that as far as stick packs in the industry, I would say Ropack is one of a handful of organizations in North America that runs as fast and has as precise dosing, plus or minus 2.5%. Again, depending on what the powder is, we can run up to 1,000 sticks per minute. So today we run everything from 800 to 1,000. For this particular customer, we are running 1,000 sticks per minute with dosing as precise as plus or minus 2.5%. You will find other stick pack manufacturers throughout North America that are more doing nutraceutical, electrolyte type products that don't require that amount of speed, more specifically, don't require that amount of dosing precision. But in North America, as I mentioned, you won't find very many other suppliers that can achieve this level of dosing at that speed. Europe's a little ahead of North America, I would say here. You'll find more manufacturers that can achieve this. But in North America, we were really able to offer this particular customer a unique solution. We co-developed from formulation all the way to childproof packaging even. And right now, this product is distributed in 4 countries with more expansion planned up and coming. So that is really a success story that we've labeled innovation through technology that existed and that Ropack had invested in. Switching gears a little bit from high technology to more regulatory expertise, we wanted to highlight this example because we often hear from customers, mainly cross-border. You'll see the Health Canada logo there. Ropack is located in Montreal, Canada. And we often hear from customers in the US, yeah, I'm not sure that we can use you as a CMO up in Canada. We have a lot of cross-border issues, et cetera, et cetera. Well, today I'm going to dispel that as a little bit of an urban myth because, in fact, that's truly what it is. Ropack is set up from a regulatory standpoint to service all our partners throughout North and South America, Western Europe, and APAC. But first off, I just wanted to clear up a little bit of what Health Canada regulations focus on. So Health Canada regulations focus on how the product is approved, imported, and exported. That's it. Health Canada does not focus on taxes and duties and has nothing to do with that. It's really about, GMP, etc. All these GMP requirements are described in Guide 117. So Guide 117 is for products not manufactured in Canada. And for those looking to outsource to Canada, these are the questions that you would need to answer. who is responsible for GMP importation? This is a licensable activity with Health Canada, requires a DEL, Canadian Drug Establishment License, with the importation activity as a requirement. Are the imported bulk products manufactured in a compliant GMP facility? This is obviously an important one. Proof is required for this. For the products to be marketed in Canada, so if your product is being imported and you would like to distribute and sell the product in Canada, who is responsible for that distribution? This is also a licensable activity under your DEL. If the bulk products are not for Canadian market, then Health Canada provides in Guide 67 a special process that does not require licensable importation activity. So I'm going to give you two examples of how realistically this might work. So on the first hand, any company that imports for sale needs to have a DEL with importation activity. So if you are an organization that has a footprint already in Canada and has both the importation and distribution activity under your establishment license, then Ropack can easily be used as a packager labeler. If not, this can also be done. So if you don't have a drug establishment license or a footprint in Canada, no worries. This can be done through different companies, and Ropack, through our network, can refer you to the appropriate importer or distributor, or we can handle the process turnkey as required. On the other side of the coin, where Guide 67 is more employed, this is where if the intent is, for example, to ship Ropack bulk product from the US to be packaged. So it's packaged here at our facility and then needs to return as finished goods to be sold in the United States. And again, this could have variations in terms of where the product is coming from. For example, the product can come from Europe as a bulk product. It can arrive in our facility here in Canada. We can package it, label it. We can also serialize it for the US market and be shipped to the US for sale. So if we take that example, this is where Guide 67 really comes in. There are special terms to observe without having the obligation of having a DEL to import. So over the years here at Ropack, we've built this expertise in-house. Our account managers handle this activity on a daily basis for our customers, and we facilitate the boarding crossing into Canada and the border crossing when it leaves Canada. And this is important to note because our account managers are trained on how to advise Canada prior to the product coming in and how to advise Health Canada once the product has left. And this is in compliance with Guide 67, where we think most of the urban myth comes from is from those that may not be aware of the provisions of Guide 67 and may not notify Health Canada. And this is where you can run into some issues at the border because on occasion, Border Control will do a spot check with Health Canada or vice versa, and the product could be refused entry. The goods could be detained and even have to be destroyed if you're not adhering to Guide 67. This is why at Ropack, we understand this process. We handle it turnkey for our customers and everything rolls smoothly. And it's really as simple as that. Moving from our regulatory experience to tech transfer, so something a little more exciting, at least as far as I'm concerned. I love technology and everything Ropack has invested in. So for our third practical example, let's get back to some fun stuff. We had two clients where during the tech transfer process, we came to the realization that the way this product or these products were being manufactured, and one was manufactured in-house, one was manufactured at another outsourced site. But in both of these examples, we came to the realization that these were legacy products and our customers were looking on how they could reduce costs moving forward. So these products have been identified as either moving from their current facility for cost efficiencies or moving out of their in-house production to free up more production room within their own in-house capability, and ideally to reduce cost. And what we found, if I use one of them as an example, the case study was a powder in a sachet. And what we found in digging into the tech transfer process is no one had touched this product for 20, 30 years. It was being manufactured in-house. No one had really paid attention to bringing it up to par. It was grandfathered on a variety of different things. And so when we did the tech transfer, we advised our customer on how to update the packaging process and how to update the barrier materials, the packaging materials, for increased product protection and quality. And so this was a great example of how we used over 40 years of experience really in handling powders and filling sachets to zero in on how we can bring all of this up to par. And, there was obviously the issue of stability. If we were going to change barrier materials, then we would need to run stability again. And what we have found in projects that require tech transfer is, although everyone wants to accelerate the timeline and turn it around within a month, realistically speaking, a well thought out, well run tech transfer that is streamlined will take about 6 to 9 months. There's a lot of moving parts, both at our partner organizations, and actually another best practice is, putting dedicated project managers in some of these projects allows the communication to flow easily, not only between our organizations, but actually amongst our partner organizations. We sort of help them communicate through their silos. Some are more siloed than other. But either way, my point here is that if you're going to change your packaging materials, your barrier materials, if you're going to have to run accelerated stability, which is 6 months, this is not on the critical path of the project timeline. We do things in parallel. Stability can be done in parallel, and it doesn't really affect the project timeline. Our next example is with regards to packaging optimization success. This might be my favorite one out of the 6 that we're mentioning today. I was very heavily involved in this one. Being head of commercial, I am involved in everything from business development and the first touch point with our clients to seeing a product be integrated into our facility and launched, and follow the evolution of the project thereafter. This one was a project where there were powders being encapsulated, so encapsulating, and those capsules were being filled in bottles. Sounds pretty simple. We were going to transfer this from another facility into our own facility. Well, as we dug into this process, we realized that there was an issue with the bottles and caps. How do we realize this? Well, up front during a project, we identify who the key players are. And that's another best practice, by the way. At the first external kickoff meeting with our clients, we try and emulate what their structure is in terms of making sure the right people are speaking with each other at both organizations. And so on this particular project, we asked to do a product line trial. We often do that. They weren't bottles that were stock bottles here at Ropack that we use every day. And so we wanted to ensure that the products would run smoothly on our line. Well, in doing so, they did not run smoothly on our line. We were finding up to a 20% or higher rejection rate on the line. Now, as a contract manufacturing organization, and I think all manufacturing organizations would agree that, we need to optimize efficiencies, especially at a CMO where we're also looking at changing over from one product to another. So a reject rate of over 20% where the line is constantly stopping to investigate what's happening, it would not be acceptable here. And so we got our sourcing team and all the right people to look at what really was the root cause of the issue. And what we found was the tolerances were too high between the bottle and the cap. They were, in fact, mismatched bottles and caps. We even got an independent evaluation of the bottle and cap combination from expert outsourced companies, so as not to be biased in any way, and to really demonstrate to our partners, you've been doing this, we're finding a 20% rejection rate. Here's an independent report that says these bottles and caps don't match. Are you finding this rejection rate where you're currently producing it? And the answer, because we weren't told that up front, the answer was yes, actually, they were experiencing over a 20% rejection rate at that facility. And of course, from a sustainability perspective, among other things that I've mentioned, like efficiency and so on, this was not going to go through, not for Ropack, not for our partner in this case. So we came up with a plan. The plan had a phase 1 and a phase 2. Phase 1 was looking at how we can optimize the process, because this was a quick launch that we needed to execute. And phase 2 in parallel was sourcing an alternative bottle cap, doing stability if required, etc. Well, we optimized the process using the existing cap and bottle. I won't get into exact details, but part of it involved preheating the caps prior to them being on the line to secure a better fit and a better seal and reduce the rejection rate. We got it down to below 2%, and we did such a great job that we completely avoided having to do phase 2, and we saved the customer ultimately millions of dollars. We saved them time, and obviously these bottles and caps are still in use today, and the product is very successful on the market. The marketing people, the marketing teams were also very happy because they didn't have to justify any change in appearance to the product when it moved from one facility to another, which is also an important consideration for us. I'll take a moment here to throw in a slide on true partnership. You know, the 4 examples that I've shared outline really best practices, how we interact with some of our partners, but really true partnership transcends the traditional customer supplier model. So if you're potentially looking for a CMO out there and you're going to treat them as a supplier, in other words, you know, feed them information on an as needed basis, maybe not, you know, share the whole picture as to why you're looking for a CMO, etc., then Ropack may not be the right stop for you. I mean, we're very entrepreneurial. We can deal with partners across a very wide spectrum, across very many therapeutic areas, etc. But really what we strive towards is fostering innovation and mutual support to achieve shared objectives. And this is our definition of true partnership. So the following 2 examples that I'm going to share with you really zero in on true partnership as we define it at Ropack. So our 5th example is really about a win-win, adding new faculties. So Ropack is an oral solid dose manufacturer. The one service I would say that had been missing from our portfolio of services was really tablet compression. So we were blending powders, encapsulating powders from a manufacturing standpoint, but we were not producing tablets. We were not doing compression. One of our long-standing partners, and we're talking about a 30-year relationship plus with this partner, we've seen them go through many acquisitions, mergers, etc., but the product portfolio has always remained at Ropack for packaging. During COVID, as many manufacturers did, they ran into many issues with regards to their supply chains, many COVID disruptions. But in fact, it was post-COVID, and we've heard this from many in the industry, it was post-COVID where the supply chain actually became a little worse rather than better. And so they were having a lot of issues getting us bulk tablets to package. No bulk tablets to package, no business at Ropack. no service ultimately to the market and the patients. So we sat down as a leadership team at Ropack, and we sat down with the leadership team at this particular customer, and we proposed adding tablet compression to our portfolio of services. And it was a win-win, because we agreed to add this knowing that a certain portion of the tablet manufacturing of our customer would come to Ropack. So we're kind of adding a capability, having business already coming in. And this is a win-win situation. We've ensured a steady supply of product to market. The customer won because they are now servicing the market. They're no longer experiencing out of stocks. Ropack won because we've added a new faculty that we didn't previously have and can further expand our business and our market penetration. And ultimately, the real win is for the patients here, because some of these are life-saving medications that did not need to be out of stock. So they now have a steady stream of supply. So this is a wonderful example of true partnership. And the final example I'm going to share is along the same lines. This is adding another faculty, another service here at Ropack. It was the need to streamline lab services. So, as we look at how we can service partners better, how we can be more reliable, more flexible, offer them the quality that they can trust, we identified that outsourcing our lab services was causing a few delays. And other than delays, we had an opportunity really here to reduce overall cycle time. So testing everything from incoming material to in-product testing to finished good testing. This was a service that was previously outsourced at Ropack. We decided to in-source this. We've built a state-of-the-art lab here at our Montreal facility, and this has shortened the cycle time. So we're able to get products to market quicker. And we also made a strategic choice because, having dealt with external labs and outsourcing our lab services for the better part of 30 years, we did not want to directly compete with some of our suppliers. So we made a strategic choice that even though we have a state-of-the-art lab, we are not pursuing lab business. That is not our core strength. We offer these lab services, so microbiological testing, analytical methods, transfer validation, etc. We offer this only for our existing customers that we manufacture and package for. This was a strategic choice for us. And again, I feel it's not only a win for all of our customers, but it's also a win for our suppliers as well in some of the labs that we still use. That sums up 6 real-world examples, I would say. I wanted to sort of move towards bringing our presentation to a close by referencing, anonymously of course, a post I saw on LinkedIn. So this is interesting because, when you look at why you're going to outsource or why you're going to keep a product in-house, there's a lot of reasons to either keep them in or outsource. And I came across an article on LinkedIn. I was researching an organization whose product portfolio was a very good fit for our capabilities at Ropack. And as I was researching this organization, I noticed that their president had a post on LinkedIn with all the reasons to insource and how, they need to keep their production in-house no matter what, for all of these reasons. And the reasons that I'm going to present to you on the next slide are the exact same reasons that he referenced, except, there are reasons also to outsource when you look at it. Because from our perspective, and I believe it's an industry perspective as well, more so than it was 20 or 30 years ago, given the expertise that CMOs can offer, is that as you grow, you can continue to add in-house resources, but at a certain point, your finance teams will say, I'm not sure that makes sense anymore. Let's look at outsourcing. And so these are some of the reasons that this individual quoted as reasons to insource, and I'm presenting to you why they may be reasons to outsource. Quality control. So there's often a myth that, once you outsource something, you lose a little bit of control and quality. Well, when you outsource, you're really looking at specialized partners that have a very rigorous quality assurance and expertise in what they do. Again, I mentioned before in the lab services example that we're not competing with other labs because that is not our core business. Again, that's probably an attribute you should look for when you're outsourcing a CMO to a CMO. You should look for, do they stick with what their core is? So we are oral solid dose. We stick to our core competency. It's not lab equipment or lab services. It's really manufacturing and packaging of OSD products. So quality control is something that's inherently built into everything we do within this core. So we maintain a stringent quality control across all of our diverse projects. 2, cost efficiency. Again, you will probably look to reduce upfront costs. So in the example of constantly expanding your footprint and being able to have the capacity to keep insourcing things, well, if you outsource, you can reduce those upfront costs, whether they be in equipment, CapEx, training, labor. The CMO offers all of this, and it lowers your per unit production cost through economies of scale. For example, if we're doing X amount of bottles per year and we can combine bottles, etc., we can benefit from economies of scale on our purchasing. Customization and flexibility. So high levels of customization from specialized expertise. We have multiple production lines here that support diverse demands. So again, we're flexible to customize things, and we also have a unique take on how to be more efficient when we're running our products on our lines. In terms of that efficiency, it leads to faster time to market. So some of the streamlined processes, giving you greater capacity to reduce bottlenecks. Access to dedicated project managers ensures alignment and communication. I believe I mentioned that as a best practice before. Supply chain control. So we have established supplier relationships to mitigate risks. For example, during COVID, none of our partners were out of any of their packaging components or raw materials. We were able to leverage, we were able to work quickly with our suppliers and really avoid any supply chain disruptions. We were very quick. Our partners helped us in this in authorizing longer lead times for purchases, more safety stock. But these are the kind of things that, for example, in the case of a larger safety stock, it's not something that you would carry in your inventory. It's something that Ropack would carry in our inventory, which for the finance folks makes them very, very happy, I guess, on our customer side. On our side, it's always a debate. Confidentiality and IP protection. Again, we sign NDAs to protect confidentiality. You've seen throughout this presentation, I have not gone in too much detail. We really protect all of our partners' confidentiality while benefiting from advanced tech and safeguarding our processes and some of our expertise as well. Sustainability. Again, I mentioned that investment in sustainable practices reduces carbon footprint. You're leveraging specialized facilities aligned with your sustainability goals, and that is something you should also be looking for when you're looking for the right CMO to partner with. Finally, that brings us towards the end of our presentation. Again, your success is our mission. We consider ourselves an extension of our partners' manufacturing and packaging capability. That's really what we are, and that is what a true partnership leads to. So reach out, let's discuss your projects. Our commitment is to thoroughly evaluate your project. I always, put this out there up front with a potential customer. Actually, I just did earlier today that we may ask a lot of questions up front. We're asking the right questions because we want to be transparent in our pricing. We want to understand your project We want to understand what your goals are. We may even be able to offer you an alternative to what you were thinking, but we're here. I know there's other CMOs there that will give you a ballpark price, maybe a lowball price to be able to, win the business, so to speak. But we know that tactic. We really do not employ that tactic here. We want to make sure that when we provide pricing, when we provide a project, that it is one that we can for sure execute flawlessly and be able to offer a price that, there's going to be very little, if any, scope change moving forward. So you're not going to get a low price and then by the time your project is launched, it's 3 times the cost. That is not the goal. So Ropack prefers to do the heavy lifting upfront. And honestly, that's the value of trust. So we've been in business, as I mentioned, for nearly 50 years. We value those long-term partnerships, and that is really the way to build a long-term partnership. So we hope to hear from you. You can contact us at info@ropack.com. We'll be more than happy to set up a call, discuss your project. And even if there is no particular project and you're just looking to chat a little bit more about, how the industry, how the supply side of the industry works, feel free to reach out. It would be our pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chris, for the excellent presentation. And audience members, just a reminder, if you have not submitted a question yet and you would like to do so, you can do so now on your screen under the Q&A box. But let's bring Chris back and let's just go ahead and head to the questions. Okay, looking at question number 1. This question is asking, I noticed in one of your examples, you mentioned project manager. Do all projects go through a project manager on your side? And if so, are they the main point of contact? What do you think, Chris?
Great question, Heather. Thank you. Yes, so a project manager, I think, is an integral part of how we launch projects at Ropack. Are they the central point of contact? Yes, in most cases. We find that it allows free communication to go between both ourselves and our customer, but it also allows for our project manager to help the communication between different departments at our customer's organization. I say that, and I would say 95% of our projects, there is a dedicated project manager functioning like this. A best practice, and what we do during the kickoff meeting, as I mentioned, is we establish the structure and governance moving forward. So in that kickoff meeting, we're really looking at who on the partner side are the key players. So are we having quality, regulatory, et cetera? Who in tech ops is on there? How does that match up with our team? And then we agree on the structure moving forward. And in 95% of those cases, everything is funneled through a project manager who then facilitates, one-on-one meetings between the tech ops folks. It's not everyone on calls at the same time. It's really up to our project manager's expertise to make sure that, they're being most efficient with everyone's time.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for that. Now we'll head back to the questions. And this question is asking, in the regulatory example, you mentioned with Health Canada guides and processes. How does Ropack stay up to date with changing regulations across different markets, and how do you ensure compliance for your partners?
Wow, great question. I'm going to answer that to the best of my ability by saying that we have a head of regulatory here at Ropack. Her name is Sophie Depadova. She has been here for over 20 years, and her team really stay abreast of all the changing regulations, whether they be FDA, Health Canada, worldwide. They have a team that constantly looks through this. We obviously get alerts from Health Canada and FDA when there's something major as well. But it's really through her team. We also, when we talk about expertise and regulatory expertise, we should also not ignore the fact that we are audited by not only Health Canada and the FDA, but by all of our partners as well. So we do in excess of 15, 20 audits per year. So anything that is up and coming, anything that is new, really our regulatory team is on top of that. And again, that's we may learn something from one customer that we then are able to process internally, turn into a standard operating procedure here, or vice versa. Sometimes our customers learn from us in terms of how packaging works or how certain things in manufacturing work and how to be more compliant.
Excellent, thank you. So back to the questions. This question is asking, you've highlighted some impressive problem solving in your examples, like optimizing bottle and cap usage. Can you explain how Ropack's engineering and technical teams collaborate with clients to ensure successful outcomes in challenging projects?
I think the challenging projects are the fun ones, honestly. I think this is where everyone gets an opportunity to learn, and I think they are the most rewarding once the project is launched. I'm not going to say some projects are boring, because it's always fun to bring in a new product and see how it functions on our lines. But when there's a challenge like that bottle and cap one, and you are engaging everyone in the organization and your customer is engaged on their side to actually find a solution. I have another example where it was a powder that was developed that was a wonderful product, just wasn't really adapted for our equipment. And the technical teams got together, the developers got together, and we were able not only from an engineering aspect to modify certain pieces on our line, certain pieces of equipment on our line, but we were also able to work in partnership with this customer and tweak the formulation, which is another wonderful example of how these teams can collaborate for successful outcomes. And that was, I didn't mention it as an example, but that was, I would say in the past 2 years, that was probably one of the highlights of collaboration here at Ropack, getting that product to market, because there were many a time where on both sides it looked like it was a complete roadblock and we couldn't move forward. But it's really the leadership on both sides where there must be a way, there must be a solution. And again, at Ropack, if there is one, we're going to do our best to find it. And we did. So I think that's a great example of how, you get the engineering folks together, you get the formulation teams together. There is a clear objective of what needs to be accomplished within a certain timeline, and you trust each other to get it done.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Now, the next question is asking, let's see, you've mentioned that Ropack acts as an extension of your partner's manufacturing and packaging operations. How does this close collaboration impact the speed and efficiency of bringing products to market?
I would say it's an interesting collaboration, because on the packaging side specifically, when we say we're an extension of our partner's manufacturing and packaging operations, if we take the example of packaging, but usually by the time you get to packaging, which is the last stop before the product hits the market, all of those accumulated delays in the manufacturing and all other aspects of the project, end up at Ropack on the packaging side. So impacting the speed and efficiency of bringing products to market, that's where our flexibility at Ropack truly shines, because we're able to identify what all of these delays were previous, look at what needs to be done, and then streamline our processes. So if it's approving QA documentation, master batch records, etc., whatever standard delays we have, we put this on a critical path and make sure we're able to turn it around. But working so closely together overall, to answer the question, is sometimes in-house it will not get done as quickly as it will at Ropack. When you outsource to a CMO, it's like you're almost doubling up on your resources. You're doubling up on your technical expertise. You're doubling up on your quality and your regulatory. And when I say doubling up, you may take that as, well, it might take twice the time. Actually, no. When it's done right and when the project is managed correctly and you utilize double the resources, this is where you really have an impact on bringing products to market quicker. You're leveraging everyone's expertise and you're moving forward at twice the speed.
Okay, well, very good. And I think that's a good place for us to stop for today. We want to thank our speaker, Chris Vanassis, and I want to thank the audience for watching, for tuning in. If we did not get to your question, no worries. We're going to pass that along to our speaker, and he'll reach out to you post-event. Also, the webinar will be available for on-demand viewing. You'll receive a link via email after it's available. Thanks so much for watching. You have a wonderful day. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.